Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So we hope you guys are doing well. Before we get going, just want to ask everybody, make sure you're subscribed to both EEARTS and Evolutionary Energy Arts, and also thumbs up should help the channel, and definitely share wherever you can, because we can change this world's path by changing the consciousness of this world, by getting it to wake up out of the draconian mindset that has enveloped it.
And that's the most important thing, is that we wake up to our own understanding and our own belief system, and not take a system that's been written out for us. Because honestly, this world, the way it is right now, I don't feel that too much has been given to us that's truly honest.
Absolutely not. It's totally been under the control of these dark entities. And again, from what we've discovered, it's cyclic in nature. It comes around at certain time periods. And so much has happened in these different yugas, these ages. If we look to the Vedic way of looking at things, it appears to be very, very accurate. There are these different ages. We go from a golden age down to a silver age, down to like a bronze, and down to like an iron or a dark age. And then we do the reverse and we start climbing up. And it all depends on the energies that we're exposed to as our solar system travels its journey throughout the cosmos. And so, we go through these periods. Now, not every individual soul does, because every individual soul is unique and has the opportunity to rise up and out of any particular situation whenever it comes to enough self-realization. And the whole goal of the Hindu point of view, and also many other Eastern traditions, is self-realization. What does that mean? Well, that means just recognizing who exactly we are, what we are, who we are, and our potential. Because when we're in the dark age, which we have been in and we're just starting to come out of, we're taught things that are very self-limiting. We're given a perspective of, just look at the main Abrahamic traditions, original sin. Because you were born, you're basically kind of cursed with this sin. And that is not the case at all. That's basically a way of controlling us and controlling our mindset. Because then we need a way out. You need, salvation, so to speak. How do you get saved? By listening to what we tell you. Doing what we say. Be a good little slave. I mean, that's the mindset of the controllers. Don't question us. Just do what we tell you. Isn't that what we see in this world with lockdowns? Put your mask on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. And, trust the science, but the science changes, week to week, month to month, year to year. This is such an obvious control system. And again, we're all in these different boxes. And it might take us a little time to break out of one box and discover we're still in another box, need to break out of that box. And we keep moving forward. And it might take more than one lifetime. But if we truly want to be free and we truly want to live up to our uppermost potential, then we must take that journey. And it can be a difficult one. It can be one that is scary in some senses, as we shed that which no longer serves, as we give away our blankie, so to speak, or our binky, or whatever it is that we cling to for security, whatever it is that has given us that sense of security. It's time to grow. It's time to no longer, be the larva form, but blossom. Be like the butterfly. Allow yourself to become the best version of you. And that comes from shedding all that which has been conditioning to limit your potential.
Mm-hmm. And that can look very scary in so many ways, because I've learned with myself and channelings that I do, I feel very comfortable as long as I can sit close to someone who agrees with me, someone who I think knows better than I do. So when I do these channelings, it makes me very insecure, because I step out of my comfort zone. I'm like out I'm stepping back and I'm just giving information that comes to me. And not everyone might have that, share that perspective or that understanding because of the teachings that we have. So yeah, this is something that does make me very vulnerable. But I think it's something that's necessary, because if we can teach people to read their own energies, I think we can break out of this system that's been contrived for us.
And also, a lot of times when we ask a question, you might get an answer, and you just might see a number,
Right.
like 2-4 sitting there in front of you, and you don't know whether that's necessarily 24 hours, 24 days, 24 months, 24 years, 24 centuries. That's kind of where you have to kind of cipher and decipher. There's been many people that have done amazing channelings over the years. Of course, the raw channelings, the Law of One is one. Dolores Cannon's
awesome.
Cryon. There's been so many that have channeled. Why do they have a fairly consistent but not always identical? Because the lens it's going through is not identical. And each one of us are unique, and unique on purpose. This is what Source has decided. It's all about uniqueness and seeing things from a new perspective. That's why there's so many different forms of life.
Yeah, different forms of life, different forms of information. And we all have this within us. It's about learning to tap into it, because as a collective, we are a whole, we are one. So everybody has these streams of information. This is something that we do to step out of the system, because I really do, truly, I look at all the books that we're given, I look at so much information, and I just can't trust it since it's been revised. I mean, how many times has the Bible been revised?
Yeah, and not even just the Bible, but other systems have been infiltrated. And then the infiltration comes in these dark ages as they lock down our minds systemically, one mind at a time. And by the time we get to the point where we are now, where we're ready to break free, and we are breaking free, there's more darkness that's been embedded in the system than light. And so we have to work through it. And we're going to give you the second part of the message that we got the other day. And the first part was basically under full trance. Then when she came out, she was still in contact with them. So she could, like in a semi-trance state, not full trance, still get information. And this is something that's been developing more and more lately, which is a blessing, because it's easier on her body. It's not an easy thing to do, this channeling, and it does really take a toll on you. And so when we were at the end of that last session, when she was fully under, she was experiencing a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort, and they're still able to give information through a semi-trance state. So we're going to go with this first.
They left me with information of the Golden Age and showing me a separation between smaller people, I think that's the people of Earth, and then larger people, these giants, ruling through manipulation, but this was after the Golden Age. The separation, that's when it started, as just out of the Golden Age it was allowed to start.
And that's this current past Golden Age?
That's this most recent, from what I can feel and see. Their inability to give me time, but give me the ability to see the pictures and feel the energies. Yes, I believe so.
Is there any way we can know in Earth years how long ago that was?
They said the most recent Golden Age, they're giving me the number 20. I want to say maybe 24,000 years ago was the most recent Golden Age, where so much of the humanity was formed under that Golden Age, and through a lot of the Egyptian gods, and also a lot of the Hindu gods that we know today, a lot of the religions that are not taught here in the West. These were the gods that came to help humanity.
Yes, it was mostly the Hindu and Egyptian, and then, of course, I'm sure there's some Native American and other indigenous peoples' gods that are just not so well known.
These are the gods that came to help mankind. They said you can look at much of the information that was left behind, and it's all across the planet, showing that all of these gods covered the entire planet and taught their ways in the Golden Age.
And then the gods that become more warlike, the ones that promoted sacrifice and things like that, those were, as we fell down through fourth density, out of the gold, out of the silver, I would take it.
Out of the Gold Age, the soonest that they were able to come in is through the Silver Age. They could not instill any of the trauma and fear until they were on the cusp, moving out of the Silver Age. So they were here, then their ways were manipulative when they became on the cusp, because it was allowed, and they have that understanding. They understand the universal laws. They understand the cosmic laws, what they're allowed to do.
So the destruction of Tiamat and the rebirth of Tiamat as Earth, that was in this last go-round then. Is that correct?
That was fairly recent. Tiamat was full of life. Tiamat was very advanced. Therefore, all of her parts and all of her energies that were broken off and appeared to be in ruins were able to come together in form, and using the intelligence of source energy and having that ability to enhance and advance and speed source energy to create a brand new world, a brand new planet. It is, they say it's inconceivable to you that this could have happened, but it is a survival that is built into every entity, every planet, every being, to leave a part of themselves to sustain the life that was on it in any circumstance.
That's all very fascinating.
They call it the superconscious.
So what about all the different humanoid species that we see? Is there no direct procession from one to another? Were they just different experiments? Things like Australopithecus, Ramapithecus, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, even like Neanderthal, Denisovan, etc.
They're telling me that when the controllers came, they started organizing different humanoid beings with different abilities, and it was a massive undertaking. Not everyone knew about everyone else's creation. It was a very wide, very vast experimentation where all kinds of entities were created by what you might call cosmic scientists, trying to create life under the guise of helping and under the guise of evolution, but they were ultimately experimenting for the perfect slave when the time came.
Interesting.
They're showing me that there's a lot of, like, rather small entities, dwarf-like entities, because they wanted the ability to pick and choose whichever entity was going to work best for them, given their desire here on Earth. That's why we see so many. I don't like to compare it to this, but we can compare it to looking at all the different types of animals that there are on the planet and the different breeding methods that were used to create certain animals to have certain instincts. It was the same with humans and these scientists.
Kind of curious about how do they get source energy to go into some sort of new creation?
They have to wait for the creation to be born, to create itself. Then they're able to manipulate it from there. When Earth and the superconsciousness set in, she created beings from her soil, from her trees, from her oceans, from her skies. So we are all part of Mother Earth. And when it was time for these beings to come in and manipulate, they did, and they came in to manipulate the source energy that was already here to accommodate their dealings that they wanted to do. Most of it is getting the precious metals off of Earth, because this is what gives them their form, and this is what gives them their immortality.
Yeah, so that's why, like gold, for instance, is so important to them.
It's everything to them. To them, it's their life. And as a being, you understand how much you fight for your desire to stay alive. They're no different.
Is there anything else for this session?
They're saying the energies that are separating people to move off in different areas, and the energies where people are going to continue to move on to the Borg is a very natural, a natural theme. They do not want us to be afraid, but anyone who does want to listen and go with the energies of Earth, to please take the time to work with the Mother Earth, take the time to learn to plant, learn to sustain off of her soil. Also, they're telling me that we're going through a cocoon type of evolution, where our skin right now, our skin is literally changing. It's changing in such a vast way. It's going to, somehow it's going to preserve our organs in a different way, making it different when the sun hits our skin. It's going to be upgrading our organs, and this is starting now, and although it's a very slow process, it's beginning, and I don't know if we'll be seeing the change in the news. They probably won't tell people, but many people's organs are changing and evolving to sustain a longer life form.
After my periods of fasting this past week, it's amazing the difference in how I feel, night and day, from before fasting to now. And if that could be achieved in 1 week's time, it's just amazing what we can do with these new incoming energies.
The new incoming energies will enhance the ability to heal and enhance the ability to become a stronger being, a stronger person, more resilient to things, the toxins that they're putting in the skies and in the waters. This last occurrence of the sun and the sun sneezes for everything that it's done has given us the ability to push back against all the other toxins that they have injected into the atmosphere and into our water, into our soil. So it is literally source energy working for us and trying to infuse us with strength faster than they can harm us.
That's wonderful.
It is.
Is there anything else for this period?
Not right now.
So hopefully you guys got something out of that I thought was very, very interesting. Again, sources is helping us directly. You know, the real big creator.
Right, and can do things that are probably very much beyond our imagination. And I think that means that the energy of source can also be manipulated in ways that don't always serve us if you have a deeper understanding of it. So I do hope this helps you guys. I know recently everyone has gone through such a huge transformation, because I do hear from you, you know, those that we have worked on or we're currently working on, about difficult times that you're transferring all this information is changing inside of you. And from what I gleaned from that, it's definitely a good thing, even though we might have it might feel difficult, but it's going to enhance us. It's going to make us stronger against anything artificial that they're doing to us right now.
Absolutely. The world is splitting in two, and unfortunately, you know, the majority are going to probably end up choosing to go along with, you know, the mainstream, which leads to the Borg mentality. But again, there are always those that end up rising above and beyond. When you look to the traditions all across the globe, again, go to the most ancient ones, because those tend to have leftover energies, leftover knowledge, leftover wisdom that's given to us from the beings when we are in that golden age. And then we fall down below where they can visibly appear to us. So when we're talking about humanity in a golden age, we are talking about like a fifth density version of humanity. And we fall all the way down through fourth density into third density, and then we start bopping our way back up. And right now we're basically on the doorstep of 4D, and there are many individuals that are spending much of their time in 4D. And there are some individuals that in states of meditation right now can reach 5D. You know, so again, it depends on the individual so much. When we look to energy, what's the driving force? Yeah, everything is energy. Everything is energy. We live in a sea of energy. And so, you know, energy is Shakti in the Vedic tradition. And of course, we have Shiva and we have Shakti, and they are two halves of the same whole. And, you know, it's recognizing how everything works. Again, we could see Shiva and Shakti, and then we could kind of look at the yin-yang symbol of the Tao and understand the two halves of the whole. There is the consciousness that is even outside of any form of creation, so to speak, and then there's the consciousness in creation. And the consciousness in creation, we can call that Shakti, we could call that the mother energy, really, and so many other things. If we're looking at Gnosticism, we could label it Sophia, and also label it wisdom when we're talking about the understanding of how the universe truly works. One of the safest things to do is just simply connect with that mother, goddess, earth energy. That's one of the safest things to do. You know, it's very ambiguous when we talk about our Father who art in heaven, so to speak, because we have entities that claim to be our father because they genetically manipulated what was already created. So it's just like if you alter the DNA of something, you could patent it in the system. It's the same thing. This is the mindset that makes them think, well, we came here, we created a slave race from a free being, and now we're its father. And they're going to call on us, and we're going to come to their call at some point in time. But again, we are the slave masters, they are the slaves. When we call on the mother energy, we're calling on the energy of source and of creation itself. And this is why it's so stressed in the Abrahamic tradition. Our Father, our Father, our Father. Instead of looking into the Shekinah side of things, there are those that are aware of the Shekinah and the divine feminine, which we can look at in a representative form, in human form, as Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, both of whom are also guides and also amazing beings with their own unique divine energies. So, why is the masculine stressed? Well, again, Shiva, if we look and we go out of the Shaivite tradition, is in many ways that which is not. It's the thought. It's the thought of making something, and it's through Shakti that it becomes something. And so when I've asked Cindy to differentiate between, say, Vishnu and Shiva, you always feel that Shiva's somehow different and very far away.
That's what I get. He's a very powerful entity, but they're also showing me a pillar that is separate away from Vishnu, and it's a definite marked difference inside of me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's by degrees of separation. It's like if we think of things as the cosmic before. Well, I was going to say cosmic womb, but you could think of things as the void. It's like Shiva resides in the void, so to speak, and everything that's manifest is from the Shakti, the mother aspect of it. And she's immanent. She's in everything. And so when we're taking care of a flower or our vegetable plant, we're loving on our tomatoes and peppers. Then we're loving on her, and she will love on us. Every energy that we give her, like last night before going to bed, I just simply cut an apple up in 6 pieces. And why 6? Because they told me that a long time ago, because I was working on my Merkaba. So basically I put it in the form of 2 triangles, an upward forming triangle and a downward. And they would take that energy and they would send it back and help my Merkaba grow. And this is how they work with us. They do work with us. They don't look at us as slaves. Now the Anunnaki, the Gigi, Draconian, and then we could jump down and recognize that the secret societies of this world are working with these dark energies. This is who they serve. So when we're talking about all these secret societies, and there are many that don't understand that that's who they are serving, when we've come in contact with beings such as Aleister Crowley, and he was in contact with this being that, he was hoping and he took to be a benevolent, knowledgeable being. Now, Aleister, has some regrets about that, is what we have gotten from talking to him. He's still doing his studies, but he knows that he was kind of hoodwinked.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought it was so interesting when we were speaking to him. He does have, right now, he's currently in progress of working the information to bring back to humanity to help free humanity in a much better way. So he's programming his life and his return, and this is something that we all have done many times. We can all do this. In fact, you can look at it from today to tomorrow. We prepare today to live for tomorrow, and this is the nature of life.
Absolutely. And we look to John Dee, court astrologer to Queen Elizabeth. Before, centuries before Crowley, John Dee gave us Enochian magic, amongst other things, Now, who was he really in contact with? He was basically in contact with the dark controllers. And did he realize it? Not necessarily. He thought he was talking to angelic forces that were benevolent, but they weren't. And again, he is on the other side, and the same thing. He feels bad about, taking the bad and thinking that they were good.
Right, and that's where it falls in on ego. When you have people that are very, very powerful looking to you to make special things happen, the ego can get in front of what you're actually doing and take control. And that's where we always stress to feel with the heart. Get in touch with yourself, understand yourself, know yourself, so that when you are working with your angels and guides, you know it's your angels and guides, and there's no mistaking, because your ego is stepped aside.
And there's a heart-centered feel to it. Mm-hmm. There's a feel of absolute compassion and love that comes through. So when it's a totally different thing than, say, what Crowley and John Dee were getting. They were all about knowledge. They wanted knowledge, but it wasn't necessarily it was from maybe a long-ended way, a long winding road way of serving humanity, so to speak, which was easy to get off track. When we are talking to beings like Yeshua himself and say the mothers that we talk to all the time, both Marys and all these other beautiful Kuan Yin and Aset and Anandamayi Ma, there's such a heart-centered love that comes through. When we're talking to them, the energy that envelops the entire area that we're in is just this amazing loving compassion that you have to feel to understand. And so when people say discern the energies, it's just so incredibly obvious. It's like being in your mother's embrace as an infant when these beings come.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, one of our family members that we just worked on recently had that emotional feeling that he knew and understood suddenly that this is safe, this is good, because he felt that warm embrace and it was palatable, it was tangible to him. So these are the things that we look for.
Absolutely. And we have had contact with other beings. I've had many contacts with many other beings throughout my life. As I've encountered everything from these wraith-like beings, that we might call jinn, and I've had my son be accosted by them, my daughter as well, and my son was in my bed because he was afraid to sleep in his own bed because of nightmares and stuff. And I awoke and saw this black thing, this black mass with glowing red eyes, and it was hovering over him, and it was doing something to his energy field. It was basically feeding off of all the bad dreams it was giving him. So I yelled at it to get the bleep out. It looked at me and it hissed, kind of in between a serpent hiss and a cat hiss, and it took off immediately. And when I've encountered beings like that numerous times. Now, those are the things I would definitely put as demonic. They're absolutely demonic. Are they powerful? Only for those that don't understand their own power. And they're not really powerful. We can really get rid of them. It's just a matter of pushing them away. And so that being has its own certain energy. When there's been times when I know that the alphabet soups, there's been a couple of times when they've tried to come through when I had the router on, and they were trying to feed stuff into my mind. And, does the CIA, the DHS, the FBI, do they give off a loving embrace like your mama? Not typically, no. You could tell this is very sterile, this is clinical, this is work-orientated. When the Anunnaki came through, it was an energy that you just trying to make it through because it feels so repulsive. But it felt so self-assured of itself too. I mean, it was one of the most cocky, egotistical.
That was weird.
Okay. Yeah, it was one of the most cocky, egotistical type of energies you've ever felt. So this is where Yeah, you have to build up discernment of the energy, but that comes through years of meditation. And that comes through even multiple lifetimes, really. So, it's never too late to start, and we need to start.
Mm-hmm.
And it also comes from eating the right way and allowing only the right energies into your body, because we can get overloaded with negative toxic energies. And again, I don't expect anybody to be able to discern if you're constantly taking in all the crap in the world full of nanobots, all your GMO foods, your sodas, and oh gosh, it goes on and on, the fast foods. We have to be constantly detoxing. We have to be constantly working on refining our vibration. It takes effort. It's not a 3-minute thing.
Well, I think what's so unfair is the effortlessness that it takes to become toxic, and sick from our environment, just living, breathing, so it's not fair. But the fact is that that's what it is. So we really need a detox, period, end of story.
Absolutely. So, where is the safest place to look for some help, so to speak? It's just simply rooting and grounding with the earth. I thought this was interesting. This is the symbolism of the Shekinah pillar. And the Hebrew word Kenah, referenced in the Shekinah pillar, means purple. Thus, the Shekinah literally means she purple. And also the biblical land of Canaan has the same Kenah etymology, making it the land of purple. As a result, the merchants that came from Canaan were called the purple merchants, and even traded in a powdered purple pigment. And it's interesting, too, because that references a certain spectrum of light. And again, every light shade that we see is a different frequency. And it could, as you see here, it corresponds to music as well. Isn't that interesting? And again, we only see the most tiny part of the known wavelength, the known spectrum of all the different X-rays and different forms of UV and IR microwaves, the radio waves, long radio waves. You see our visible spectrum is so small. Can you imagine if we could only see 10% larger, 20% larger? All the beings that would all of a sudden pop into our existence, it would be mind-blowing. We are sold a bill of goods. We are sold that this is survival of the fittest. Why? Because they want to keep us killing each other. They want to keep us divided. And if we go to Deuteronomy 32:8, and I'm going to go just a hair longer than I intended, but I just want to kind of wrap up the whole idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you can close in on something and find your understanding and utilize that when you're delivering a message. It always just feels so good. If you don't, a lot of times it's like shutting off one of your favorite songs before it's done. So here we go.
So when the Most High gave their nations their inheritances, when he divided the sons of man, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the sons of God, or the sons of the gods. And then again, but Yahweh's portion was his particular people. I mean, this is talking about when the Anunnaki came, not Source, not the God that created this particular universe, not the being that created this universe. No, this is the Anunnaki, when they divided up the nations, because again, they view us as their possessions. They divided us amongst the number of the sons of the gods, or they divided us among different Anunnaki beings. And then again, when we look to the Tower of Babel and it says, look, mankind is united, who knows what he could do? Come, let us go down there. How obvious is that? How obvious is that? That's so incredibly obvious. When we look to nature, what do we really find? What do we really find? Look at these turtles. This little guy's upside down. What do the other turtles do? They help him out. When we look to the human body and we see that we have trillions of cells, they're not working against each other, only cancerous cells, which cancerous cells on the planet Earth is the controllers. You look to your politicians, so many of them are cancerous cells. We look to the WHO, the CDC, the UN, the WEF. These are all cancerous cells. They are not truly working like these turtles are. We need to be more like these turtles.
I know. I mean, that's just so beautiful, and it really makes you pause and think about everything that we've been taught about animals, quote unquote. They do love, they do care, they do respect, and they help each other up when they fall.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you so much for your support on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi. We couldn't do it without your support. Do check out Medicinal Foods, the link at the top of every video. Use coupon code EEA. It does give you a discount. It does support the channel. As always, may you be blessed by Source and by the Mother. Namaste.
Namaste.